What if you could relive moments of someone else's life? See what they see, touch what they touch, and feel what they feel, all from the comfort of your own home. In Cyberpunk 2077, this kind of tech exists, and it's called Braindance. Braindance, or BD for short, is the most popular form of entertainment in the Cyberpunk universe. Although Braindance shares some minor similarities with VR headsets, the technology couldn't be more different. Unlike virtual reality, BD can engage all 5 senses by stimulating your brain in a variety of ways. This results in a fully immersive experience that lets you live out scripted moments as someone else. While the most obvious use for this tech is porn, it was originally used to rehabilitate convicted criminals.
Money! Now! Or I will drop you, I swear to God!
Invented in 2007 by a UC Santa Cruz student named Yuriko Tsujimoto, shout out to the banana slugs watching, BD was originally called the alternative reality process. Using a Netrunner interface, Tsujimoto was able to record her thoughts, feelings, and emotions onto a memory chip and replay them using a modified cyberdeck. After Tsujimoto finished up her PhD, she went to work for the state of California as a researcher for penal reform. With the help of a renowned psychologist named Norman Lassimer, Tsujimoto began developing ways the alternative reality process could reprogram and rehabilitate criminals. Using a rudimentary form of BD, prisoners were forced to relive their crimes over and over again with exaggerated consequences, and sometimes with incredibly painful outcomes. Although many considered it torture, it was effective. However, the alternative reality process faced one major setback that prevented wider use. Most criminals weren't being recorded when they committed a crime. This made it difficult for a prisoner to receive a Braindance treatment that matched the offense. To rectify this, Tsujimoto and Lassimer received funding from both the state of California and Militech to reenact crimes using incarcerated volunteers. However, recording the crime was only half of it. They also needed to record the punishment to really hammer home the whole rehabilitation side of the experience. As lawless as the Cyberpunk universe may be, torturing people to record their pain was a step too far. Or at least it was, until a convicted mass murderer by the name of Harold D. McLeroy made an interesting offer to Militech. Militech could record his death if they generously compensated his family. Militech paid up and put him to death before the ink on his contract dried. After McLeroy's deal, other inmates proposed similar offers, and Tsujimoto began to expand her death and torture database. Thanks to Tsujimoto's tech, prisoners were getting rehabilitated at a much quicker rate than usual, thus freeing up space in prisons. As you'd expect, this method of rehabilitation isn't the most ethical. Many convicts walked away with a litany of anxiety disorders. With the success of the altered reality process on inmates, Tsujimoto and Lassimer formed their own company called Braindance Incorporated. Shortly after, Militech partnered with Braindance Inc. to create military simulations for training purposes. You know, just like that Black Mirror episode.
I can feed you everything that you did. You will see and smell and feel it all.
In 2077, Braindance is still used for criminal rehabilitation and military training, but it's primarily used for entertainment. Pretty much anyone and everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic background, has access to a Braindance machine. Of course, the wealthy can afford top-of-the-line personal machines, but BD arcades can be found all throughout Night City. Inside, customers can choose from a wide selection of cartridges to rent and test out in the arcade itself. In order to experience Braindance, you need a BD headset, also known as a wreath, and a base station, also known as a feeder. Once the user is connected to the unit, it will force the user into a trance-like state, making them susceptible to other sensory experiences. In the early days of consumer BD, most experiences put the user in the shoes of someone else doing something extraordinary. A famous athlete making a game-winning goal, climbing Mount Everest, or reliving a significant historical event. As the BD industry grew, production companies began creating more in-depth curated experiences. By 2077, BD covers a wide range of genres and tastes, both legal and illegal. Of course, there's also a bunch of weird sex BD cartridges like Sasha Devon's Three Mouths, One Desire, but there are also horror experiences like Foreign Body and popular slice of life BDs that let you inhabit the body of a celebrity, kinda like the 1999 comedy Being John Malkovich.
Malkovich?
There are even some religious BDs that let the user experience Jesus' suffering on the cross firsthand, which sounds like a big old yikes to me, but considering people knowingly went to see Passion of the Christ in droves, I can see why that might be popular. It's also important to note that Braindance is heavily edited. Very rarely is the user given a raw BD recording to play back because it can be very difficult to seamlessly plant the user in someone else's mind. There would be too many irrelevant thoughts that require context and memories that are incomprehensible to a foreign entity. In order to clean up a BD recording, you need an editor to pour over each scene and remove thoughts, emotions, and sensations that would be unrelated to the user. Basically, if you're making an action BD, you don't want the user to think about what the actor ate for breakfast. After the BD recording has been edited, the editor may remix the actor's feelings and emotions to give more weight to certain moments. For instance, if the user should be scared, the editor might inject a little bit more fear into that recording. Kind of like how movies attempt to subconsciously manipulate someone's feelings with different camera angles and focal lengths.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig.
Without a certain level of editing, Braindance can be very off-putting and even dangerous. Despite the dangers though, there is still a market for more extreme and authentic BD. That kind of BD goes by the name Black Braindance. Black Braindance is hard to come by and usually features recordings of criminal activity, extreme violence, or snuff. Unlike the regulated BD you might find in an arcade or a store, Black Braindance can be very dangerous to the user due to the unedited extreme emotions it can impose. While over-the-counter Braindance isn't dangerous per se, it can lead to some negative side effects. The obvious one is addiction. Many BD setups include a feeder which gives the user sustenance so they can stay in a BD trance for as long as possible. As you can imagine, many folks end up preferring life in a Braindance trance over reality. Those who overuse BD are often rendered numb and emotionless because reality doesn't quite stir up the same intense emotions as a well-produced BD. It can also lead to BDDID, which stands for Braindance Dissociative Identity Disorder. Basically, the user spends so much time in someone else's head that they are unable to distinguish the self from the role they take in a BD. This usually happens to those who routinely return to BDs starring their favorite actors. Of course, if you saw the first Night City Wire, you got a sneak peek at how Braindance works in game. It will be interesting to see how much depth Braindance will have when Cyberpunk comes out this November. If you're interested in learning more about Braindance and Cyberpunk lore, I highly recommend picking up the Cyberpunk 2077 World book. A lot of the info in this video comes from that very book. But in the meantime, for more Cyberpunk lore, be sure to check back every Saturday for another video. If there's a topic you'd like to see covered, please let us know in the comments below. And with that, we'll see you next time.